Greetings and salutations, fellow book readers. This is Mark, and the book I will review today is The Heart of the Matter. Before we continue, this is personalized limited edition of The Heart of the Matter with a leather cover designed and made by me. At the end of the video, I will tell you a couple of ways of how you can get one for yourself if you are interested. Now let's get back to the review. The Heart of the Matter is a novel written by British writer Graham Greene and published in 1948. Greene is considered one of the great 20th century novelists, and many of the books have been adapted into films, such as, let me remember, The Quiet American and Affair to Remember, or one that I really liked, titled Travels with My Aunt. Greene converted to Catholicism in his early 20s, and a lot of his writings are marked by the impact of the religion on his life. And there is this ever-present struggle between himself and his faith. He wrote many thrillers, which were probably influenced by his service as a spy in the British MI6. Yes, the same one James Bond served. During World War II, Greene was posted to Sierra Leone, and the time he spent there probably inspired The Heart of the Matter. So, what is The Heart of the Matter about? It is about the individual moral crisis leading to moral decline, one step at a time. And it is about right and wrong defined by each one's personal beliefs, and how the line between the two is not fixed but fluid. And it is also about the struggle between the pressure of what one should do and the temptation of doing what one wants to do. Now, let's do a bit of the plot. As usual, I will try to be vague and not to reveal too many details. First, I will introduce the principal characters. So, there is Major Henry Scobie, a British colonial police official and a central character of the story. Then Louise Scobie, his wife, and Helen Rold, a young widow, and Yusuf, a local Syrian merchant. There are a few more characters, but I consider them more secondary, so they are not worth mentioning. The story takes place somewhere in one of the British colonies in West Africa during World War II, probably Sierra Leone. Scobie, who is responsible for local security, lives alone with his wife Louise after their daughter died in school back in England. They both are devoted Catholics and use their faith to numb the pain, but Louise is unhappy in their current location and wants to go live somewhere else. Scobie's main responsibility is to search ships passing through to make sure they do not smuggle any contraband items, especially industrial diamonds, which might end up in Germany. A Portuguese ship named Esperanza arrives, and Scobie commits his first mistake. Later he travels to a small town to investigate a suicide committed by a local police official, and it leaves a profound impact on him, and it turns his dreams into nightmares, and he begins to question the sense and the purpose of his own existence. Scobie sees that Louise is deeply unhappy and decides to let her go to South Africa, but he fails to secure a loan from the bank to pay the passage, so he agrees to take a personal loan from Yusuf, which is another step in the wrong direction. Shortly after Louise departs, boat arrives with survivors of a ship sunk by a German submarine, and between them is a 19-year-old girl named Helen, who just lost her husband. She reminds Scobie of his dead daughter, and they become friends, which leads to another mistake. As the time passes, Scobie continues to make bad decisions and commits more mistakes, which lead to profound feelings of personal guilt, so he begins to think how to free people he cares for from what he considers his negative impact on their lives, and more importantly, how to free himself from the influence others have on his own life. And he begins to question how far he is willing to go to accomplish it. And eventually, he rectifies the mistakes as well as he believes he can. And that's the basic plot. What are my thoughts about the heart of the matter? Well, the book is well written, as all Graham Greene novels, with well-defined and profound characters. Major Scobie represents your good Catholic boy in struggle with his faith, which is in conflict with his human nature. On the outside, he is seen as honest and incorruptible, but on the inside, he finds it extremely difficult to keep up with this image and the expectations others have of him, and more so the expectations he has for himself. Scobie is a fragile and somewhat pitiful individual, but it is difficult not to feel that he got what he deserved, since it was he who, little by little, created his own psychological hell. One might feel he should have looked further down the road to see where his choices were leading him to, but it is easy to judge in the hindsight. Scobie's wife, Louise, might be seen as somewhat of a judge or justice rendered on Scobie. She is unhappy and disappointed with his shortcomings, and subtly and indirectly makes him feel guilty and responsible for her own unhappiness. Helen seems to be a test for Scobie's fate. Inside Scobie, there is an internal power struggle for loyalty between Helen and God. And we can see his confusion when in the letter to her he admits, "I love you more than God himself." Yusef is also a test, but he's just a test of Scobie's character. He's a bit of a Lucifer and is there to challenge Scobie's reputation of incorruptibility by tempting him to sell his integrity. The backdrop of the story is the colonial West Africa and the lives of the British officials with their families. The tropics, with its constant high temperature, humidity, and seemingly unchanged seasons, make the men who come there change, and it is the resistance to this unavoidable change and refusing to adapt that makes their lives difficult and even unbearable. But for Scobie, it wasn't the place that bothered him. He says, "Why do I like this place so much? Maybe because human nature doesn't have to disguise itself here." Rather, he blames the people around him, or maybe the people in general, for making his life difficult when he says, "If I was young again, this is the life I would choose, except I would not share it with anyone else." Scobie has this deep need for solitude, which he feels has never been satisfied. And this drives him to seek extreme solitude, not only from humans, but also from his fate and God. There are other sentiments underlined in the story, and probably the more profound one is pity. On the surface, it is pity Scobie feels for the others, his wife Helen, the Portuguese captain, but it is the pity for himself that has the strongest impact on his life and puts him on the downward spiral. And there is guilt, personal guilt for not being able to live up to one's expectations, and guilt of disappointing others. Of course, in the book, all these sentiments are connected and feed off each other to create a complex dilemma and existential crisis for Scobie. And further, there is this constant and ever-present feeling of finality, when at the beginning Scobie says, "I have been here too long to go," and it feels as if he is entering the final chapter of his tragic and unhappy life. To sum it up, The Heart of the Matter is a well-written novel with an interesting story and engaging plot. The book is very English, more psychological than sentimental, where Scobie has a very practical, solution-oriented approach towards spiritual and emotional life. The book has this ever-present Green's own struggle in how to be a good Catholic, and often the heart of the matter is called Catholic novel. But I don't see it. Yes, on the surface, it is about the inner religious conflict, but it is more of a general faith crisis of one individual. And to me, the Catholicism in the book is just a tool to highlight the weakness and fragility of human nature, and it works. Anyway, the heart of the matter is a good and thought-provoking read, so give it a try. If you would like to get some visual reference, there is a 1953 adaptation filmed in Sierra Leone. The film is very good and it does a decent job at relaying the general feeling of the novel, but it takes some liberty with the ending. Okay, let's talk about the physical book. The book I am holding is a paperback which I transformed into a hardcover leather-bound edition. To make the cover, I use grade A, naturally tan hide. I buy from a tannery in North Spain. It is the same leather Louis Vuitton uses to make his bags, so it is top quality. I do all the processing of the leather myself. First, I designed the cover, which what I did here. I used an image of an African town with a policeman standing in the middle of it, alone and somewhat lost, and I think it nicely relates to the book. If you want to see a more detailed video where I explain how I transform paperback into leather-bound hardcover, click on the link in the description. I will make a maximum of 100 editions of each title. Each one will be numbered and initialed, and the numbers will go in chronological order from 2 up, since number 1 stays with me. I will make a maximum of 100 editions of each title. Each one will be numbered and initialed, and the numbers will go in chronological order from 2 up, since number 1 stays with me. The price will be around $100, so if you would like me to make one for you, you can click below on my email and send me a message. I do not guarantee I will do it, since it will depend on the time I have available, access to the leather, and if I can get my hands on the copy of the book. Now, if you are not willing to spend the $100, but you still want the book, what you can do is click below on the PayPal link and donate $3 or more to my channel, and for every 100 donations, I'll make a lottery and draw one name, and the winner will receive the book. So, if you are cheap but feel lucky, this might be the way to do it. Also, your donations give me the extra motivation to make the book reviews, and I appreciate them very much. So, thank you in advance. One more thing. When you make your donation, remember to include the title of the book you would like to win. The book itself is beautiful. Visually, it has a very nice texture, it smells great, and the more you handle it, the more beautiful it will become. And it makes a great gift for yourself or somebody who appreciates books. So, if you want one, don't snooze or you might lose. Well, that's it, so let's end it here, and until next time, keep your ear close to the ground and read a book. Adios.